Please welcome Oracle Senior Vice President for JD Edwards, Lyle Ekdahl.
Hello. Hello. Well, welcome to Denver and our own little annual version of Rocky Mountain High, INFOCUS. Thanks for coming. Really appreciate your attendance. The theme that we have for you this week is You Make It Happen. Because we know many of you here in the audience, you're right there. You're right there where the business meets technology, and you're all about innovating and helping your business succeed, and that's what we want to help you do. So, to preview what we're going to do this week a little bit for INFOCUS 18, with the theme of You Make It Happen, is we want to make sure you get your questions answered. So we do have an exhibitor showcase, and JD Edwards has a booth there where some of my support folks as well as the developers will be there. We can share product with you there. We also actually have something we're calling a product show you'll hear a lot about, and that's hopefully to help inspire you, but to also answer questions. I think tomorrow at lunch we're going to have an executive Q&A where many of you have sent us some questions that we'd like to address while you have lunch. And then to continue to inspire you, you inspire us. And so we do this through a session we called Idea-a-thon. And that's at Tuesday at 11:15, and that's where some of your colleagues are bringing in their ideas to show the development team. And then, of course, this week is a lot about learning, right? So we've done a bunch of sessions. My team put together something around 50 sessions out of 250 total sessions. So what a great opportunity to learn from not just Oracle JD Edwards as the vendor, but from our partners and then, of course, our community to see what we're all doing with the products. So with that, we want to kick this off with this keynote and really accomplish three things. The first one is I want to address JD Edwards not as it exists today, but also as we look forward and what does the future look like for JD Edwards. The next thing that we want to do is we want to take a deeper dive into the investments that are being made by Oracle and the Oracle JD Edwards team in the product that we all know and love, and that's JD Edwards. So what are we doing with the products? Why are we doing those things? And how we think that can enable you to finally follow into this third section, which is make it happen. And so I challenged members of my team to actually look at business scenarios that you all face maybe on a daily basis and to figure out a way that we could demonstrate to you how you can accomplish that with JD Edwards as it exists today, and to do that without having to have a lot of development resources, because we're always short on development resources, right? So how can we as a team make it happen together? Now you'll notice the logo down in the bottom right-hand corner, Oracle JD Edwards. That's what we refer to as our family logo. So we're all one big family here. We're the JD Edwards family. Now the JD Edwards family has two product lines. We have Enterprise One and we have World. And then each of those has its releases. So why do I go in and underscore this? Well, I think recently you may have seen that we have moved our development to something we call continuous delivery or continuous innovation. And we've really put a lot of effort into continuous innovation around one of our family's product lines and product releases. And that is the 9.2 product release for Enterprise One. And in April, we made a new announcement around premier support for that Enterprise One 9.2 release. And we're going to support that release now in the marketplace from a premier perspective till at least 2030. Now, that's a commitment you're not going to get anyplace else. Okay, that's another full years of premier support on 9.2. And as I go into a little more details, you'll see why we're doing that. But I'll tell you right now, it's a function of the marketplace and what you're all doing. Now, I want to tackle the elephant in the room. But Lyle, that means in 2030, everything comes to an end and JD Edwards goes away. That's not true. That's not true at all. We're talking about a release. When A7 III went off of Premier support, did JD Edwards go away? No. Did World go away? No. Right? So what we're projecting here is the amount of Premier support we give to a release. And we're saying nothing about an end of life for a product family. Right? To end a life of product family would take a lot of work. There would be a lot of strategy behind it, and I can tell you right now, there is no strategy, nor is there any work going on to end of life JD Edwards. Hopefully that's clear. So 2030, Premier support for 9.2. And this is how we lay that out. And I think I shared this with you last year. So in a world continuous delivery, we're making available in the marketplace smaller packages of feature packs. And in fact, we've had 9 some of these since the product was released in October of 2015. And then on a regular basis, we bundle both the apps and the tools together into something we call an update, right? That's a whole fresh package that gets injected into the marketplace. And right now, we're projecting that about annually, okay? With these feature packs coming roughly quarterly, okay? And that's the go forward on that product line to 2030. Now, that's not to say that there isn't another release for JD Edwards Enterprise One. We're just not announcing that right now because we don't need to. Okay, we've got lots of runway. We're doing a lot of great things. We can continue to do great things and inject. You'll see some of the innovation that we're putting into the 9.2 Enterprise One code line, and I think you'll agree with me there's no need right now to get concerned about another major release. In fact, what we've heard from customers is they don't particularly like major releases because they come with major investment and major risk. Okay, so we're smoothing that out. All right, so what about World? Okay, so the World, its continuous delivery line is our A9.4 release, and we're seeing good movement now from our World population to that release. The other thing we're seeing, and you'll see in a moment, is we're seeing a lot of World customers now jumping on the other product line, and that is Enterprise One. We are seeing that migration happening. The World product right now is supported in the marketplace till at least 2025. Okay, so we haven't made a change to that yet, and that's a function of one thing. World is tied to IBM i and OS 400. And as they move those support timelines out, that's when we can make a commitment beyond 2025. And right now, their market support line takes them to 2026. Okay? So that's where we're at on that. We're sort of tied to what IBM does, but we're not announcing here the end of World. We're not announcing the end of JD Edwards. We're just showing you the support timelines relative to our 2 major releases in the market, which is our continuous delivery releases. So hopefully that brings clarity. Now, the next thing I said I wanted to do is share with you some trends. And as I said on the earlier slide, one of the major trends right now, noted by Highliner Foods, longtime World customer out in the Northeast of North America. They're a very large food processor and distributor. And you probably have seen their stuff in the grocery stores, Highliner Foods. And they were a World customer. What World customers are doing is they're standardizing on a platform. They're getting rid of customizations, and they're doing that by moving to Enterprise One 9.2. So they see 9.2 as a platform for which they can standardize those business processes, get rid of customizations, and take advantage of a larger footprint. In this case, warehousing was very big to Highliner Foods. And we actually worked very closely with them to make sure that a lot of their requirements could be met out of the box. Okay, so that's sort of trend number 1. Going down to the next square, NTN, they are the market share leader in automotive bearings, okay, for axles, so axle bearings. Global, have the global market share lead in that. And what they're doing with Enterprise One is they're moving beyond sort of that base ERP, which is financials and maybe some procurement, and they're really moving into line of business functionality. So they're auto supply, and in the auto supply world, having visibility into the demand that's coming in for your OEM, the contractual agreements that you have with your OEM, and being able to ship per those contractual agreements, very, very important, right? So some very detailed functionality. That comes out of the box with Enterprise One. And so they really see that as a platform for expansion and extension of their business. So moving ERP both broader and deeper into their business. Now let's go up to the top right as I look at it. Probably as you look at it too. The top right, and that's Sol Sensei. And that is not a brand that many of us around here would recognize. But if you were in Brazil, you would, because that is their national brand for salt. And what these guys do is they refine the salt, they manufacture the salt, package it, and ship it. And what they have done is they've added a lot of sensoring across that entire process tied to J.D. Edwards so that they can orchestrate that process using more and more machine labor as opposed to human labor. And they do that for a couple reasons. One is safety, and the other reason is to get humans doing what humans do best. And a lot of that is not interacting and prodding machines along a process that's well known. Okay? And so they've really used Enterprise One 9.2 is that platform for digital business and digital innovation. And then finally, what you see down there is Skanska, another J.D. Edwards 9.2 customer, and they really see J.D. Edwards as a hub. And from that hub, they're able to quickly integrate to cloud services that are available out there. So while they do have a standard J.D. Edwards deployment, and they also rely on a lot of our great E&C functionality, they're tying in cloud services and creating a hybrid world, right? Where you've got J.D. Edwards at the center and you're doing some BI in the cloud, or you're doing, in their case, HR in the cloud, also procurement in the cloud. They do a lot of business with disadvantaged businesses, right? Because they do a lot of government work. Very important that they sign up that business appropriately and that they report on it appropriately. And there's actually an Oracle Cloud service that allows them to do that. So those are the four big trends that we see going on right now that is really driving the J.D. Edwards install base. So what does that install base look like? Well, this is what the whole family install base looked like last year when we sat here. Okay? How many of you were here last year, by the way? A good number of you. Okay. So you remember this chart. This is the way it looked. And at the time, what I shared with you was that 9.1 Enterprise One was our family majority release, and our trending release was 9.2. Well, let's fast forward the clock 1 year, and this is what it now looks like. So you can see that 9.2 is more than the trending release. It is now the family majority and soon to be over 50% of the family running it. So when I say, what are we doing with 9.2 and why are we doing it with 9.2? I'm a market guy. It's a function of the market because you're all moving to it, right? And so that's why it gets this investment, and that's why the commitment in terms of how long we think and feel we should be supporting that in the marketplace. Now you see, older Enterprise One before 9.1 definitely getting squeezed out of the picture. A lot of people moving off that. And as I said before, a lot of folks moving. In fact, we're very encouraged. A lot of our customers that were running one of our oldest world releases, A7 III, now moving. We're seeing regular go-lives on 9.2 Enterprise One. So that's sort of the function of our overall family and how we're doing as a family and what those timelines and support look like. So what does it mean at the end of the day? Well, we do see a strong migration, okay? World to Enterprise One. That is certainly something that's happening, but we're still supporting World. We're maintaining that, and we have an A9.4 release out there that'll be there till at least 2025, okay? We do have extended support on 9.0 that is ending soon. So November 2018, if you're on 9.0, our premier and extended support ends at that point. You go into sustaining support, at which point there are no new updates, fixes, or actually security alerts, which is probably the bigger concern. No tax, no legal or regulatory on that release, but We do have a bridge for you at Oracle. It's something we call market-driven support. It's a year-to-year contract. And if you are on 9.0 and interested in moving to future Enterprise One releases, you can get yourself some support at a small uplift as you do your planning or as you do your uplift, okay, your upgrade. 9.1 is entering its second year of extended support. And so that'll be one more year of extended support on that release. And 9.2 is our continuous innovation release with support to at least 2030. So really the way we see it as a family and as a marketplace, 9.2 is really that release. And the more we can consolidate ourselves on 9.2, the better benefit there is for all of us. Because obviously the more customers you get on a release, the more investment that it eventually gets, okay, relative to the other pieces of the pie. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, going to change speed here just a little bit. And I know in talking in my travels, talking to many of you, my customers, you really like to see what's going on in terms of the industry and how that parallels sort of what we're messaging for J.D. Edwards, but more appropriate than, are we investing to that end? Are we just hitting buzzwords? Are we really making commitments and investing to that end and really helping you address true industry trends and not just these buzzwords? So if you take a look back, I think we've done a very, very good job of not only messaging, but delivering to what we see as an evolutionary vision around J.D. Edwards, and frankly broader than that, around enterprise systems and ERP. And it really goes back to 2014, and we started having a conversation with you about the importance of data. And data is going to become so critical, especially as we move into this next big age within not only enterprise systems, but within our economy. And so we started that conversation in 2015 or 2014, and we started to provide capabilities for J.D. Edwards to reach outside of itself, to interact with other pieces of the digital economy, to integrate in a low-code, no-code way on more standard-based, REST-based services and JSON payloads. We did that at first so that we could start to untether J.D. Edwards, so that you could bring J.D. Edwards to the point of process through mobility. And mobility became a big push for us. And you saw us not only create mobile applications, but again, infrastructure that helps you interact with that J.D. Edwards no matter where you are, and frankly, what time of the day it is, what you're doing. And we also saw that we needed to make sure that not only humans were interacting with machines, but machines could interact with each other. And that we could start to offload human behaviors and human effort and offload that onto machines in areas where they could do things better, right? And in 2015, 2016, we started playing, more than playing, but we started adding the ability to do process automation. Okay, and we added this notion of Orchestrator and Orchestrator Studio so that these orchestrations and process automations could be built out, again, fairly simply without having it be a development exercise. And we also started to extend our capabilities to automate that stuff in the cloud so that it could happen more than something that you would have to invest in on-premise, but it could actually happen outside of your data center and not on your hardware. And then you saw us really dig into user experience to make that lighter, easier to use, and also more personal, right? So that you could personalize the system to the way you wanted to work. And all of this, we feel, has been building towards what we call this next big thing, which is really around a lot more autonomy than we've had in the past. So we've talked a little bit, frankly, at Collaborate about autonomous ERP, and I know Bob's going to come up here in a minute and we'll talk about it a little bit. And in our viewpoint of the world, we see it as being two distinct pieces, and we must have both of those. It's autonomic systems, those systems that are self-sensing and self-healing, but it also speaks to the business process itself. It's about automating that as much as possible and having machines learn from the humans and having machines assist the humans, right, in our day-to-day processing. And that's where this is all leading. Now, at the end of the day, we are an ERP. We are your ERP vendor. And so we're also modernizing business process, adding new modules in the area of rentals, in the area of even financial reconciliation, revenue recognition. So we add new capabilities to our ERP, but we always do that now with an eye towards this new digital landscape and this digital platform that we've created. So to help me walk through that in a little more detail and how we're exactly investing, I want to call up Bob Monahan. Please welcome Bob. Bob is our VP of Product Management.
Great, thanks, Lyle. And thank you, everybody, for being here. A great turnout. Again, people standing in the back, few seats up front if you want to sit here. Okay, Bob. All right, so what are we doing? A lot of enhancements, but let's just put these into maybe 4 categories. And there's going to be plenty of detail sessions, product showcase all throughout the conference. So I just want to hit on these at a high level, and you'll see a lot more detail throughout the remainder of the week. But at a high level, user experience. Really the goal is, how can the software meet the way you need to do business, as opposed to in years past, you having to change your business to meet how the software was built. So it's really about making that user experience, using software the way you need to use it. Digital technologies, as Lyle said, moving towards digital transformation, more automation in business processes. How do we enable that from a platform perspective in JD Edwards? ERP modernization. Using a combination of both user experience and digital technologies, having them intersect in core processes such as procure to pay to automate and drive that into a new generation of processing, as well as just core ERP. And finally, what I'll call operational simplification. How do we drive down cost of ownership within JD Edwards? So what I want to do is spend a minute or so, go through each one of these and just give you 1 or 2 examples.
That's good.
You'll see more of this in the week, but it'll kind of set the flavor of the tone. So let's start with user experience. A number of things we've done, right, around personalization and configuration. So no coding involved, very, very important. Watch list, analytics, Springboard. We put all these together and delivered 52 role-based pages around a paradigm of alert, analyze, and act. As soon as you sign on, you go in your role, it tells you what you need to do, more information to analyze it, and then act on it. Cafe 1, we released this with 9.1, Composite Application Framework. How do I take multiple JD Edwards forms, and instead of menu traveling, jumping all over the place, put them on a single application, or external applications, and link it to a JD Edwards. Very, very powerful capability. Form personalization. Years ago, everybody went out, modified your applications so that the form met how you did your business. Now you can go in as a citizen developer without code and change the form to meet how you need to do your business. So very, very key. Notifications, AJ is going to talk about that. List grid formats, giving you more real estate on the form. So we always had, a grid that was horizontal in columns. So now I can compact those and stack the data this way. So it gives me a lot more real estate to work with as I personalize my forms. One of my favorites, Enterprise One Search. Not just searching within a single application, but you can configure that to search across multiple applications. Great for navigation, great when I'm looking up information that I can see holistically, things that may be going on for my line of business. And form extension, how can I get more information that may be in a business view onto an application where I may need those data.
So a lot of configuration and personalization over coding. So what you'll see is we've leaned into this week. We actually have 5 sessions on UX1 throughout the week. And also I want to underscore, and we'll tell you more about it in a little bit, this product show where you're going to get to see a lot more hands-on for UX1.
Great. So let's talk about the next area, digital technologies. Lyle just showed on the prior slide the investments we've been making since 2014 to move JD Edwards to support the digital world. So how have we been doing that from a product perspective? Well, the first is we're not ripping apart JD Edwards. You've got that core there. So how are we enabling that underlying foundation or platform? So we take your core ERP JD Edwards applications And we've underlaid a foundation, capabilities around orchestrations, modern REST-based integrations, extensibility, notifications, and allowed all that to be personalized. So now we have J.D. Edwards setting at the stage to be able to move into process automation and digital transformation. Technologies that are now open and enabled with this capability, things like chatbots, machine learning, cloud, SaaS or PaaS applications, IoT, blockchain, right? The list goes on, robotic process automation. More applications written with UIs outside of native J.D. Edwards. The foundation that we've enabled from a digital platform extension really has given you the capability now to open up J.D. Edwards to move you into the digital world. Very, very key. One of the key features that we do this with is a capability we call Orchestrator. So we take J.D. Edwards, the core applications we have, and we use Orchestrator as the gateway to expose our core applications to the digital economy. So Orchestrator is built on our application interface services, which is a nice way of saying it interfaces directly into our applications. So core J.D. Edwards, all the capability that some of those things that I've just mentioned about IoT and blockchain and process automation, that now is interfaced into Orchestrator, which interfaces it into the core J.D. Edwards applications business logic.
Okay, so J.D. Edwards ERP still at the core, but layering to be able to interact with the digital economy.
Absolutely. And by the way, this stuff is just wicked cool. I mean, definitely go to the product showcase, see this stuff. All right.
Okay, so again, very important piece of the new technology in the digital platform, Orchestrator. We have 2 sessions planned for you, and both those are on Wednesday at different times, of course, but please go see it at the product show.
Great. The other area that we're layering in is around this concept of notification. So let's just say now we've got your business and it's running in an automated fashion. We have IoT, we have process integration, extensibility, and we're trying to remove, as Lyle talked about earlier, a lot of the humans doing the work and moving more towards machines doing the work and smart machines with machine learning and intelligence built into those, right? Chatbots and robotic process automation. So now as things are becoming more automated, the question is, how do you know what's going on in your business if a bunch of machines are kind of running that for you? The way we do that now is we use notifications. You can set up the notification just like you get on your consumer mobile apps, what's important to me. And when that happens in the business, we can push that to you. So examples of notification could be a strategic order. And let's say, depending on your size of the company, strategic orders could be all sorts of things, but maybe anything over $1 million. If an order comes in, I as the VP of sales, I want to get a notification and know about that. Maybe exceptions in production manufacturing. I'm outside of quality tolerances. Maybe a machine line went down. Maybe the yield is going different than I expected. It's lower. Any of those things as a supervisor or manufacturing line operator, I want to know about it, have that pushed to me real time, right now, not wait for a phone call, not wait until I sign into the system tomorrow. And other examples, right? Health and safety, maybe budgets where I'm exceeding, those type of things. We've delivered 35 of these out of the box to give you examples how to get going, and I think another 20 to 25 coming shortly later this year. The nice thing is when we proactively push it, email, mobile, right, text, you don't have to be signed on to J.D. Edwards to get these notifications. Some enhancements, AJ will demo a couple of these around our notifications, the message center, how you can see those, the health of the orchestrations. And I think it's going to be very, very powerful, a future one coming up, real-time orchestrations, table-driven event. When something happens in the table with your data, automatically kick off an orchestration to do something. So making it real-time, driving that capability.
Okay, so again, a lighter weight interaction with your ERP, regardless of where you are, notifications, 2 sessions planned. Both of these are on Tuesday, and again, come see it at the product show.
All right, keep investing in core ERP. First area I want to give you an example of is around changes to lease management. This is changing globally. It's not just a North American and US accounting change. Typically, when people have had leases in the past, they've taken leases and they expense them. They go on the P&L, it's a monthly or quarterly expense, and it gets written off that way. The accounting rules are now changing globally starting January 2019, so 5 months. Leases now have to go on the balance sheet. So you have to be able to see long-term liabilities. If you have a lease that's going out 4, 5, 6, 7 years, companies want to see that liability extension going out for that period of time. And then as you use the lease, basically you amortize it, right? So you write down the liability and you increase your right of use on that asset. So big changes in accounting. We're supporting that on 9.1 and 9.2. Another key area for us is around joint venture. So how many industries could use joint venture?
Just about everyone.
Just about everyone, right? Yeah, just about everyone. So as you might know, when joint ventures started, right, years and years ago, people have been doing this for years. It was really when you had a project or an operation or a business where it was either too expensive or too risky for one company. So let's say we're going to form a partnership. I'm going to join with your company, your company, your company. We're all going to go in, pool resources, and we'll all split it up in what we call division of interest. So I may own 10% of the joint venture. You may be a majority partner, own 40%, and so forth. So we now support all of that capability within JD Edwards to set up those time-effective division of interest, to set up the GL accounts, to drive it to the right revenue and expense distribution to the participating partners.
And all generally available now.
All generally available.
All right, so these two new key pieces to ERP, we have a session for each of them, so one session each, and those are on Tuesday, and then again, come to the product show.
Great.
To learn more.
Operational simplification. The slide that you showed, Lyle, about 50% of our customers still not there on 9.2.
Yep.
A lot are moving really, really quick, but we got to get about half the customer base there. So one of the things we're investing in and have done to make it easier to upgrade. So we simplify the provisioning of when you target a 9.2 target environment. So we used our one-click provisioning. We originally built that a couple years ago to make it easy to deploy JD Edwards in the cloud. We now use that as part of our upgrade process to make it easy. The other thing that buys us is a concurrent payload. So when I go to 9.2, I'm getting the most recent 9.2, not a snapshot of 9.2 that came out 3 years ago, but a snapshot of 9.2 today for apps and tools. So it makes you immediately concurrent. We're also reducing the amount of retrofit on mods by only moving the objects that have changed. And a really key part is, if for customers, and we've seen a lot of this, by the way, in the last year, wanting to get out of the IT infrastructure business, I'm going to move my JD Edwards operations to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. If you want to do that, we can do that in a single process, move you to the cloud and upgrade you to 9.2. In addition, once you're at 9.2, focusing on things to keep that cost of ownership down. Things like health check on your system, the status of my database server, enterprise server, JAS server, how are those performing, and showing that in a very graphical UI image. So it's very easy to see state of your business on your servers. Object tracking and usage, what applications am I using? What customizations am I not using? When I apply a fix, how's that fix, how the objects in that fix align to the objects am I using? Where do I need to test? So very, very powerful capability. Some enhancements that are coming this fall, all the personalization, things like UX1, right? All that, it's driven by something we call user-defined objects. Putting in much simpler management around user-defined objects to make that easier to use. And we're also going to, with our new tool release, 9.2 Update 3, allow JD Edwards to be 64-bit enabled. So a lot of work.
Well, we know that cost effectivity of your platform is very, very important to this community, so we've put together 7 sessions for you on operational simplification. There's at least one every day of the conference, and then, of course, we've got some great demonstration planned at the product show.
Great.
All right, so everybody, warm hand for Bob Monahan, VP of Product Management, came up and helped us walk through what we're investing in. Now, during that part of the presentation here, we mentioned product showcase at least 5 times, or the product show at least 5 times. Monday and Tuesday evening, actually in the exhibitor showcase at the JD Edwards booth, you can get a product show, but we put together 10, or actually it's over 10 product areas that we're going to explore with you through the day on Tuesday and Wednesday. There's a schedule that's produced. I believe it's in your program. It's also posted out there, and that's during the day in Foyer A. And then, of course, you can always get demonstrations when you come up to that booth. All right? Okay, with that, we're going to shift gears one last time here. Here's the third piece of our keynote today. And that is really tied to why we believe you come to conferences. Now, we know the number one reason you come is because you want to network. And networking is great because you want to learn from one another. But we also believe that we all have dreams, right? Dreams of how we can make our businesses run better. And we engage in planning to do that. And we look at the platform, our ERP platform, really increasingly as a platform for innovation that allows us to actually execute and make those dreams reality. So at the end of the day, making it happen. There's a great tie-in between that notion and what's now referred to as the maker movement. And you know, when I came to J.D. Edwards, I really felt there was already a maker movement here, right? J.D. Edwards had such a great set of architectures that really allowed it to extend, to morph, to take on more, right? And to do things in your own way. Now, with the modern maker movement, it's really all about delivering platforms that can do that without the requirement for heavy development resource, right? It's through using something that we refer to as citizen developers. Okay, and that could be anybody. That could be anybody from an AP clerk to a CNC to, you know, whoever's part of your overall J.D. Edwards deployment. So that maker movement, I took and I challenged my team to come on up here and build for us some demonstrations based on some common problems that they saw. Now, I know what happens usually when these demonstrations start. And this is, you know, another thing that's occurred over the last 3 to 5 years. Everybody gets out their phone, they want to take pictures, they want to take movies. You don't need to do that. Pay attention to the speaker. We've actually encapsulated all of this into one section on Learn JDE called You Make It Happen. And you can get details on how we put on the demonstrations, you know, what was the content, and how the individual actually made it happen. So with that, I want you to welcome to the stage Angela Enyart, who is from my staff in the product management organization. She's a senior director. And what she's going to discover with us a little bit is something that we saw in an idea-a-thon. So first, tell us what an idea-a-thon is, Angela.
So an idea-a-thon is a time that's set aside to challenge people to come together and prototype build things really quickly. Just take an idea that's been percolating for a long time.
So we do this regularly in our shop,
oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah, we do it all the time.
A couple times a year, and we've been doing this for several years.
And you see the results of many of those
and you
things.
see some of that in the product. But we thought we'd bring that to the community. So we started to partnered with Quest, and we started to do that at Quest events. And recently, at a Quest event, we found a pretty cool idea.
We did. We found a great idea.
Okay. And so why don't you give us your twist on this idea, though?
Sure. Next slide.
You want that?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Sorry. So back at Collaborate 2017, the winning Ideathon proposal came from a great customer of ours, Little Rapids, and they showed us this new application that they had built called an online work order. And it was a new application that was designed for an operator on a manufacturing line. And so this application brought together a lot of information all in one place. So this is a lot of the information we've already got in J.D. Edwards. They just needed it to be formatted a little bit differently. So we took a step back and said, hey, we've got a lot of these new user-defined objects. I think we can make this happen ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we see this a lot. This is kind of custom work, right?
Yeah.
We see a lot, and we also get a lot of requests for enhancements around this sort of, reconfigure the form for me.
Yeah, and I'm sure in your departments back at home, you've got a lot of users who are like, can you just move this field over to the left? Can you just add this one more field for me to be able to filter a little bit easier? And us in the IT department, we want to avoid customizations. So I'm going to show you how we've taken this idea from Little Rapids and a lot of these new user-defined object types that we have available to accomplish the same thing. So let's take a look at what we built. So what we have here is a composite application. It starts off with, over on the left, that's the dispatch list. It provides a list of the different work orders I've got to work on today. Over on the right, we brought in media objects, which shows schematics or assembly instructions for this work order, for this operation. Down in the bottom, I can see parts list availability. It shows me in red the things that aren't available. Now I got to go figure out how to handle that. But then as I am progressing and completing my work, I can use Super Backflash over in the bottom to report those changes. So yeah, we use Cafe 1. that object type, which has been around for a few years now, started in 9.1, to pull all of these things together. And so let me show you what we did to simplify these, to be able to fit all of this information on the form. Because as you know, we provide a lot of information on the forms that we ship out. So let's just go back to the dispatch list, which is, again, this is a vanilla version, but again, I used the user-defined objects to make it look different. So you probably don't recognize it if you're familiar with it. So the first thing that we did is added a list view grid format to try and bring information together tighter, so I don't have to do as much of the horizontal scrolling. I also used form personalization to remove some of the fields up here in the header that I don't need to use as part of that filtering. And it's not refreshing.
This is a live demonstration.
Yes, that's what happens.
A little refresh.
Yeah, hopefully. So let's go back to the layout, and then we'll turn it back off again. And that's okay. So I use form personalization to remove some of the fields up in the header that I don't need to use. But I also, and so we did that with all of the forms that you saw there, just to make it nice and clean. So one other thing I wanted to show you here, assuming it's going to come up for me, and of course it's not, is form extensions, which is a new user-defined object type that you can use to take fields that are part of the business view, but we didn't add them to the form ourselves. So that's probably one of the most frustrating things you have to deal with when you've got those types of requests from your users. Can you just make these little tiny changes to the form for me? But they're, they're still intrusive. You might as well be adding a whole bunch of business logic to it because it's still treated like a customization. So again, form extension can help you do that. So those are just, again, the frameworks that I used: list view grid format, form personalization, form extension, and Cafe One. And so this is, again, our version of the online work order. And I am sorry, we're not going to ship this, because this isn't going to be exactly what you want to use or the way that you would want to use it. For example, in your organization, maybe you want to put, the work order, operations, the schedule down on the bottom. Or you need more space because you've got much more complicated schematics that you need to display. Or you want to put the schedule of work order operations. You want to use a lot of that space. You don't have as many of those different applications that you need to bring together. So again, it's up to you to make it your own.
All right, so Angela, what did we see?
So what you saw here is a better way for you to be able to give the users what you want. When you get back home right away, go be a hero and show them how they can go make these simple changes to the form that they've been asking for years without making them be actual customizations. And of course, it's not limited to just an operator on a manufacturing line. Think about how you could build them that CSR console that they've been dreaming of. Now you've got a really easy way to get that done quickly, and threw out a few other examples there for you to give it some thought to.
So Angela, again, what part of my organization are you in?
I'm part of your product management team.
Okay, and you really built these forms yourself?
I did.
Okay, and
trust me, even though it didn't come up, and
that's
just
so
live
we
demo.
would have seen it.
Yeah.
If it would have rendered correctly and refreshed,
yes,
they would have seen you actually moving the fields around, and it's something that even a product manager can do.
Even a product manager. Coding is too hard.
Okay.
I make too many mistakes. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Hey, warm hand for Angela.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next demonstration we've called up Gary DeWill. And Gary is going to show us a little bit of Orchestrator and how that might interoperate with a cloud service that's out here. So we're going to do both orchestration and some hybrid cloud around production monitoring and IoT. So take it away, Gary.
Thank you, Lyle. Probably in this room we have many customers that are in the asset-intensive industries, and these customers, they care about the investment that they made in their equipment. And that's exactly what this IoT application will do. It will monitor assets. There's 4 IoT applications. We have asset monitoring, we have production monitoring, we have fleet monitoring, and then there's connected worker.
Okay.
So in this demonstration, what we're going to do is we're going to simulate an event on the production floor where a temperature is rising over a threshold.
Okay.
And IoT production monitoring is going to send an alert to J.D. Edwards, and J.D. Edwards, the orchestrator, is going to come up with some corrective action there.
Okay.
So IoT production monitoring gives you that real-time visibility into your facility, and that can be from the factory level all the way down to the machine level. It monitors the health and utilization of your equipment, and the goal is to predict, diagnose issues, and minimize downtime.
Okay, and when that issue happens, who steps in?
Dr. Orchestrator.
Okay.
Think of IoT production monitoring as your heartbeat of the system. It gives you real-time visibility into the system. And when something does need to happen, and something does need to be corrected, the orchestrator will do that for you. So IoT production monitoring, we have a screenshot here. It can give you that visibility again around the globe and compare better performing factories to worse performing factories, but it can also go down to the machine level. So for instance, here's a screenshot of the work center, and in this work center we have 3 different stations. The middle station, this is where we have glue dispensing, so we're going to look at some live data in just a moment that reads the glue temperature, and it also gives us some visibility in the viscosity of the glue.
Right, makes
so
sense.
there's of course a relationship. If the glue goes up, viscosity goes down.
Right.
And that's exactly what we will mimic. So in this screenshot here, you see on the blue line, that's the glue temperature, and then the green line is viscosity. As soon as that rule is broken, we define it here to be broken at 155 degrees. IoT production monitoring sees that. It sends an alert. The orchestrator takes it from there. So the orchestrator, in our case, is going to offload the work orders on a primary work center and is going to move it to an alternate work center.
Fantastic.
So let's go take a look at the application here. So here we're looking at J.D. Edwards. We're looking at the work center load review calendar. So we're looking at a day, and tomorrow we see that we have 3 work orders scheduled on a work center.
Yep.
In the meantime, on this tablet here, I'm going to simulate an event, and the temperature is going to be rising in our IoT production monitoring system. At the same time, in the other work center, we see that we have availability for tomorrow. So I'm going to go back to our primary. We refresh. We have those work orders out there.
Yep.
And this is IoT production monitoring, so I'm going to go straight to the machine that we are monitoring. So we go at the machine level, and we're going to look at live sensor data. I can switch this to live, and now I can select my attributes. So in this case, I'm bringing up temperature, and I'm also bringing up viscosity.
Got it.
We already see here that it's spiking. So 158 degrees, we already broke the rule. The viscosity is going bad.
Yeah, the heck.
So now we're producing bad
That
items.
glue is squirting all over the place at this point.
Yes, it's bad news. So when we go to our application, if I do a refresh, what we expect to happen is that these work orders get offloaded, so they disappeared off our primary work center, and we expect them to be loaded on the alternate. And that's exactly what they did.
That's what it did.
So we continue running. We have a watch list that is updated. It now tells us that we have 3 work orders that are running on an alternate work center. And if we go to our notification, here's the notification. I just hit the... Here's a notification that tells us that a primary work center is down, that we move these work orders over.
So based on the conditions in our plant, through the orchestrator, J.D. Edwards stepped in, rectified the situation, and kept things up and running, right?
That's correct.
So in your words, tell us a little bit more about what we saw there.
Well, we had an anomaly take place on the shop floor. It was detected by IoT production monitoring. It reached out to the orchestrator, and it came up with corrective action. And that integration is enabled through a very easy-to-follow user interface where it allows you to select the orchestrator, the AIS server, and then in that value, in that list of values, you can find your orchestrations, and that's as simple as the integration is.
So again, Gary, what do you do in the J.D. Edwards world?
So I'm an applications consultant or a business analyst for the demo organization.
Okay. And you've got a bunch of developers to help you build that.
No, I have no support.
So easy a business analyst can do it. Everybody give a warm hand to Gary DeWill. All right, so with that, I really liked how the machines took over, right? And sort of took care of things for us. But what if I'm a production manager that's a bit of a control freak and I really want to know what's going on? Let's talk a little bit about these notifications. And to do that, I've brought up AJ Schifano, who is also a member of our product management organization. AJ?
Thanks, Lyle. Yeah, isn't that pretty incredible?
Yeah, I thought so.
Gary showed how something happened in the business. J.D. Edwards detected it, took some smart action, and kept the machine line going. But as you said, I don't want just the machine to take over. I'd sort of like to know that that's happening. If I'm the production scheduler, I kind of know what's going on in the business. So we built some things around that called notifications. Bob mentioned it earlier. This is something that's been generally available for almost a year now. We rolled it out last November, where we can collect data using the orchestrator from anything in the J.D. Edwards system, right? Anywhere, any of our tables, but we can also make outbound REST calls to external systems. So anything that's happened in J.D. Edwards, anything that's happening in the world, we can put these notifications together and then have people subscribe to them, and they can get that delivered via the bell notifications in the UI or email or on their phones.
Fantastic. So anytime, any place. Why don't you show us what you got here, AJ? Coming up. I make these guys do this live. I love flying without a net. Okay.
So yeah, what Gary showed us is this notification thing where he got an alert from the work center. We get to craft these messages. The data, the work center WC3101 at branch 28001 is down.
Gotcha.
So that's something I need to know. The work orders have been automatically redirected. So that's what Gary showed us. There's a link here. If I don't like what happened or I want to go check on it, I can get right into the link, work order scheduling. I can intervene. If I like what happened, well, I can just have a cup of coffee and let the system kind of go on by itself.
I can do that from my cell phone, right?
Sure can.
All right. You look like a busy guy there. You got a lot of notifications. What's going on there?
Well, if you take a look at, what's going on here, I have a bunch of different notifications. Not just that. Right? I've got active incidents. Maybe I'm in health and safety. I've got low inventory. I'm looking at reassigned work orders. I'm looking at large customer deals.
So where this is grouped, and it looks like you've got the ability to do some search and delete and all, is this that new feature that Bob was telling us about?
This is undercover. This is not available yet.
That's why we call it demo.
That's why we call it demo. But this is something we're working on. We call the message center.
Okay.
Right? And you can see all the things. I'm kind of a big deal.
You're a big deal.
Right?
You got a lot going on.
All the stuff going on.
Okay.
So with that.
Okay. So message center, sort, search, launch your applications from there, delete by group, that sort of thing. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what we saw in your demonstration?
Yeah, so what we saw was notifications coming in, stuff that I care about, what I need to know, and what I need to do, a quick look, a quick link, actions coming in no matter where I am. Could have happened on my phone, could have happened on my email. And I'm connected.
And I heard Bob say 35 of those notifications ship out of the box. Who built those, by the way, those 35 that are coming out of the box?
Karen led our product management team. So again.
Okay, so easy enough a product manager can do.
Even the notification. You have no idea how hard we work, Lyle. Took me 11 minutes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Great. All right, everybody, warm round of applause for AJ Schifano. Okay, well, we just mentioned Karen Brown, and she's just now joined me on stage, and we're going to chat about chatbots and payables. So, Karen, what do you have for us today?
Well, as everybody knows, we work hard at J.D. Edwards to be on the leading edge, right? And as part of the Oracle family, we've got lots of tools at our disposal. One of them being intelligent bots through Oracle's mobile cloud service. So what we've done is we've kind of prototyped how we can use a chatbot with JD Edwards.
Okay, so chatbots being sort of this new interaction paradigm, right?
Absolutely.
Where we're starting to get into a little bit of machine learning, right? Because we can train these bots or the machine based on natural language processing, how to interact with us to accomplish and to be, what, like an apprentice of ours? Or
Maybe an assistant.
as an assistant. Okay, show us how this applies to payables.
Okay, so in the accounts payable process, at the end of the month, we're getting a ton of vouchers in that we got to pay for our suppliers, right? And you have to go through and approve them. Well, this is a perfect situation to use a chatbot. So I'd like to introduce you to Edward. He's there on the right side of my
Saw
screen.
that little wolf pup up there.
Yeah. And he's my assistant at the end of the month when I have got to get all these vouchers taken care of. You'll notice I have a watch list there. I'm on a standard UX1 page, so I have my alert. I have 31 vouchers that I got to get out there, the batches, and approve them. Well, I'm really busy. It's the end of the month, so I'm going to get my assistant to help me do this. So I'm just going to tell Edward to process my vouchers.
Okay.
And we've taught Edward what it means to process the voucher. I need him to review the vouchers. And he's gone out and he's, hey, Karen, I found 31 of them. Do you really want me to do this?
All right.
Of course I want you to do this. I have other things to do. So he's going to go out. We've taught him what he's able to approve and post and what he's not.
Okay.
Okay, because I still need to handle all the exceptions. So
Gotcha.
he's going to find the normal stuff and go out there and work on it. He's checking every single one of those. And the nice thing with this machine learning and with the intelligent bots is you can teach them, or they can learn themselves.
Yeah, I see.
Right?
I mean, he's doing
Okay.
some stuff here.
So he went out, I had 31 batches, he was able to approve 30 of them. There's one
Gotcha.
of them out there that's too big. Okay, so I've got to
Yeah.
take care of that. And so he's telling me I can go and review that and approve that myself if I care to. And he's also sent the rest of them off for posting. And now he's going to tell me, oh, I've got one that's in error.
Oh,
You
so
notice
something
my
errored out. Yep.
Yep. And you notice my watch list all changed. I've still got one to approve. I got one in error. These are the things that I need to take care of. Edward could do everything
Right, so we've
else.
offloaded from you sort of the day-to-day, given that to Edward, our assistant, our young wolf pup. He's taking care of that, and you're just taking care of the exceptions.
Absolutely. Really making me more productive.
Fantastic.
With everything that we need to do.
Fantastic. All right. So with that, let's thank Karen for coming up and showing us Edward. And the great thing about Edward is he does come already potty trained. So you don't have to worry about that. All right, so one last thing. We've given you 4 great demonstrations, but what if I want to see more about what JD Edwards can do? And what if I want to see more about what JD Edwards can do all throughout the year, right? I can't make it to a conference. I want to welcome Ward Quarles, and Ward runs my content and communications organization, and usually Ward is the man behind the scenes at these conferences, and he's usually back there at the booth directing what's going on, but I got him upstage here. So Ward, welcome to the stage. Say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. And
Okay.
for 59 minutes and 50 seconds, I was in the back.
Yes.
All right, so
what are we going
all
to
of
see?
this-
What are you going to show us?
All of this great stuff, you can find out about it from Learn JDE. If you haven't been to learnjde.com in the last 2 weeks, we changed the user interface.
Yeah, it's pretty modern looking UI.
Let's go ahead and show you what this looks like. So if you've used it before, you remember it was very search driven. Any keyword phrase you wanted to look for, you could find. In addition to that, we also have the menu navigation. So if I work on an application every day, I'm doing financial applications, I can go in and see all of the information about that from the navigation bar. I can drill right into the second level information. Let's go into fixed assets. And from fixed assets, I can see all of the content, all the documentation related to that particular topic. So I can search for it or I can navigate for it, whichever way I feel most comfortable. From that home page, we've also built in all of our key content. Some of you aren't on 9.2 yet. Right at the very top of this screen, it tells you everything you need to know about upgrading to 9.2. Lyle gets more questions every week about what's the JD Edwards roadmap look like. That link to the JD Edwards roadmap is right on the homepage of Learn JDE. So if you want to find that information, this is where you go. Now below
What about announcements?
all of that information is also available, Lyle.
Okay.
In the carousel above, You can see there are 5 buttons here. We've already published all the You Make It Happen stuff for this conference, so you can find that today. This is the home screen. The next one shows all of our information on digital transformation. Here's information about UX, user experience. And if I want to know the most recent announcements from JD Edwards, it's the very last button on the carousel. I click here. The most recent announcement from JD Edwards was joint venture management enhancements. And right at the top is Bob Monahan. You can go in and watch a video for less than a minute and know everything there is about that particular product.
Let's watch it. Just funning with you, Bob.
Let's do a quick search just so you can see.
Yeah,
let's
go
say I
some
want to
search.
look at lease management content.
Yeah.
I can search on lease management. It'll take you to our search results page. So right at the top is the lease management page. You'll find all of our content, all of our product documentation. So if you wanted to know how to enter a lease, how to approve a lease, how to pay a lease, all of that information is here. And on the right side, I can either filter by product area or content type. If all I want to do is watch a video, that's available for me from here. And if JD Edwards has very special information like a video on lease accounting, it's also presented for easy viewing.
Okay, so now what if, let's say I'm sort of mid-level management, somebody like here in the audience, and I want to go back and I want to make sure that we kind of follow a good process where on any topic area that we're going to dive into, I want my executive to get what he needs to know. I'm going to get kind of the details for its deployment, and then of course I got to hand that off to somebody that's going to make it happen.
So
how do we organize our content so that flow happens?
We've filtered all of our second level pages. So if you do that navigation or if you end up on a page that's specific to a high level topic like financial management, you can scroll down on this page and see all the subcategories. So within financial management, I have fixed assets, I have equipment management, I have revenue recognition. Below that is the summary or the high level information about the products that align with financial management. And then when you're ready to get started, we've divided our content by use. So I want to get started, I want to watch a video, I want to read an FAQ, or I'm ready to implement, then I've got all the implementation guides available. Or if I'm a user of that product, then I've got all of my general product content.
Yeah, well laid out. All right. Anything else, Ward, on that?
I think that's a good start.
All right,
go out and check it out.
Yeah, so check it out, www.learnjde.com. All right, let's hear it for Ward Quarles. And let's hear it for all my product managers and business analysts who made this happen. So what did we do here this afternoon? All right, well, we started off talking about JD Edwards today and JD Edwards in the future. Hopefully there's no confusion around that. Then we spent some time telling you about our commitment and that continued investment in this platform. And that, yes, indeed, it's moving to become more of a platform that allows us to deliver the latest and greatest in digital technologies and deliver it in such a way that citizen developers, users, power users can get involved and really personalizing the system and helping your business achieve its dreams. So I'm hoping that you'll really dig in the rest of this week, hit the rest of the sessions, get that networking in, learn what other folks are doing with 9.2, but also dig in deep, find out what you can do with it specifically, and then go back and make it happen for your businesses. Thank you so much for attending InFocus, and I wish you all just a fantastic week. Thank you.